Good evening and welcome to episode 69 of the Loaded Dice. Yeah.
Carry on.
Why not? It's late at night. We can be juvenile. That's a thing that's allowed on the internet, I'm sure. Welcome to episode 69, which is all about the big 40k FAQ for 2019 that dropped, I want to say it was yesterday. It was yesterday. It was yesterday morning. And the really funny thing was I was actually listening to, at the time, the latest episode of The Honest Wargamer, and they were bitching about how the FAQ hadn't actually dropped, and that all it would take is for them to put out an episode bitching about it, and within 12 hours they'd drop it. I think there was a 9-hour gap from when their episode released to when the FAQ dropped.
So what you're saying is this is all The Honest Wargamer's fault?
Yeah. They
should have released
just wait for them to do their complaining episode, and then they're like, here you go.
Yep.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. But no, by the way, if anybody isn't listening to The Honest Wargamer, go and give them a listen. It's Rob of Warhammer TV fame from back in the day, and a collection of other really cool hosts, mainly an AOS podcast, but they also do a fair bit of 40k content. Twitch streams and all that sort of stuff as well, which is awesome. But yeah, no, we're here to talk FAQ. It's probably going to be a shorter episode than normal because we are just looking at what's come out in the last 2 days for 40k in the FAQ. We're going to skip most of the preamble. We do like new stuff and the rest of it because I think we're going to do a normal episode next week as well. And also there is an episode that has been lost on the cutting room floor. It is just chopped up into a million pieces, and we haven't had the probably ability on my side to actually put them back together. But once we've got that will get released as well, which would have been the one that's sort of missing from the lineup. I think 68. So that should be that'll still be 68 when it comes out. But hopefully I can get that done in the next days.
Nice.
Please, nobody hold me to that.
It'll be a bumper crop then. You'll get 3 episodes of the Loaded Dice in one go.
Yeah, then it will disappear for like 5 months or something. Is probably the way that'll happen.
Excellent. Look forward to
it. So how are you tonight, Mr. Taylor? Doug, even?
Well, thank you, Andrew. Not much to report. It's the middle of the week, so I have been working and sleeping, occasionally eating in between, and that's about it. You?
Yeah, look, that's kind of about the same as looking after many screaming children.
Yep.
And yeah, just trying not to go insane. But it's only going to get worse. I was looking at the calendar the other day, and we're only like a month and a bit out from end of financial year insanity here in Australia.
Yeah, that is true.
Which is really enjoyable. I've already had I think 4 trips to my my business account in the last few weeks, which is never fun and costs you money. It's fantastic. Yes. So I actually haven't been doing that much stuff. I think the only hobby I've been doing is what I've popped up on the Facebook page. And obviously, if you somehow found this podcast without finding the Facebook page, go and look us up, the Loaded Dice Podcast, on Facebook there. We post all sorts of rumors, new releases, hobby progress, event photos, all that sort of fun stuff. So go and check it out.
True. Actually, I should link through some of the stuff from Brush with Destiny as well.
Yeah, you definitely should. So if anybody doesn't know Doug, my courageous co-host, being here at 10:30 at night on a school night, I think is the best way to term that. He is also the CEO and Grand Poobah of Brush with Destiny Painting Studio. So if anybody's looking for a great commission painter, have you got any room on the books at the moment?
For the love of God, don't send me an email. I am packed pretty much through end of financial year into about August or September or something. I have too much to paint and not enough time to paint it. And I still want to do my own shit somewhere in there. But, that's okay. If stuff opens up, no doubt you'll hear about it online. I am still happy to take emails, but just be aware that I may occasionally tell you, I'm full, go chat to somebody else.
He's also very partial to boxes full of miniatures packed inside of large denomination banknotes.
Yeah, see, that's fine.
That will bump you to the front of the queue from what I've heard.
That's true, unless it's Thousand Suns.
Or Epic Night Lords, right?
Maybe it's just the distance from that, but I think I'm ready to take on another 6 mil commission. Just not a big one anytime soon. Like, I'll do your Titanicus shit. Actually, that's a lie. I won't do that. I'm going to palm that off to Painted Right or someone.
Yeah,
that's okay. I'll do real basic infantry. Like, I'll paint 100 guardsmen for you as long as you're happy with like wash painting and a dry brush and nothing else.
fair enough. That sounds.
That's what I have space for in my calendar at the moment.
The struggles of a commissioned painter. No,
Yes.
no. Look, it's good. Obviously, with 4 books and the rest of it, you're doing something right, which is
yeah,
which is really good. So, no, if anybody
big
wants
thank you to all of my clients who are keeping me in cash. Shout out to all of you. I'm not going to list you by name because that would be weird. But thank you for sending me toys to paint and money to do it.
And actually, I do need to give one apology for tonight. And that's actually our man from Kansas, Dave Coleman. He really wanted to be here tonight, but we couldn't make the time zones work. And apparently he had to actually go to real work.
Oh, no.
Big work, perhaps, might be the way that we would term this. Big boy work. But though, sending lots of love out to Dave. And I'm sure he'll have a bunch of comments and might even be on 1 or 2 of the podcasts over in the US doing a guest stint as well. I would imagine. I don't know. But yes, I don't know. He was playing. He's a night player, so he was a little bit upset and salty.
His beloved Castellan has gone up a number of points. Yeah, that's fine. The Valiant is still cheap.
Well, look, to be perfectly honest, I don't think he was that upset about it. I think it was just the inevitable that we sort of thought had been coming for the last 12 months. But no, so hopefully we can get Dave maybe on the next show and have a chat. But if you're on that side of the world, definitely hit up Dave from Invested Painting if you need anything big or small.
Yeah, definitely. He is
painted. He's doing a lot of terrain at the moment. So if you jump on his Facebook page at Invested Painting, you'll see all of his awesome stuff. Yeah, okay, so I guess we better get into it. And I just want to start off by just saying sort of bravo to Games Workshop, apart from being, the best part of, almost 2 months late with it, but we completely understand that's okay. I think they just need to basically say that whenever Adepticon happens, they need like 2 to 3 weeks after it.
Yeah.
That should actually just be what it is, because and that's not even being flippant, that's just, they literally said, we're not releasing anything till we go to Adepticon and see what happens.
Yep.
And then Adepticon happens, and if anybody doesn't sort of know what went on over at Adepticon, lots of Elder Fires. Lots of Elder Fires. And then obviously, Castellans have been a ubiquitous kind of soup choice for a very long time. So, they're finally getting some love.
Yes, and Ynnari getting a quick nerf in the new White Dwarf.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking we would probably cover that in a bit more depth next week, because I haven't got my hands on it yet. I don't even think it's out in Australia yet.
Neither do I. But they're pretty much all the big Adepticon lists that have been hit with that in some way, shape, or form. Castellans have gone up. Ynnari got a tweak. Planes have gotten a tweak.
Yeah, I think there was, and I think there's just been some. How usually with these FAQs, one of the fun bits is looking for the dumbass questions that people have asked, like, can I make this fortification my general?
Yes.
And then deep strike it. There wasn't so much of that this year. This year. I think the best thing, I was saying this to you just before we started, is their release notes that they've done. And by the way, if you're having problems finding the release notes, you need to go to the Warhammer Community FAQ article, and then there's a whole lot of buttons halfway down the article with English, French, German, Japanese, and click the English one or whatever language you speak, and it'll give you the release notes document, which is a really good, I think it's 6 or 7 pages, and it's just, these are the big reasons, these are the big changes we've made, and these are the reasons why we've done them, and the philosophy behind it. And then obviously they've updated all their errata documents and rules and all that sort of stuff as well. And that's done in the more traditional you go and find your document on the Warhammer Community FAQs and Useful Bits 40k site, and Imperial Guard, you click on that, and then anything that's new, this FAQ will be in pink.
Yes.
I think they actually call it magenta, but that's fucking pink. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
That's a very aggressive salmon color.
That's all right. That's just I assume that's what the style guide says they have to use. So
yeah, there's a Pantone color there.
Yeah.
So what we were going to quickly run through is what the big changes are, what's sort of in this release notes, why they're doing it, and then I guess a bit of back and forth discussion on what we think it's going to mean for the game.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a couple of really big changes in here. Probably one of the biggest ones is the way aircraft work, as far as being able to block out units that aren't aircraft.
Yep.
And hinder people's movement. And if you watched anything from Adepticon or any of the big tournaments in the last 6 months, you take 6 elder flyers and you basically have so much board control that nobody can do anything because they can't walk past you.
Yeah.
So obviously that's all now been flipped on its head, and it's basically, as long as you don't finish up standing on their base, you can just fucking dawdle past them, no questions asked.
Yep.
Which is a really fantastic change. Obviously, they've backpedaled on their, well, maybe not obviously, but they have backpedaled on their big change to the flank keyword. So now you can move over things in the assault phase. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, like I don't mind it. Like I'm reasonably happy one way or like I don't really care either way.
This is going to be a great discussion then.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, yeah, what do you think about this, Doug? Don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
No. I think it's probably not a bad call to be able to move over units, given that if you can move over a unit in the movement phase, then that's fine. You can hop across them in the charge phase. The buildings thing is still there, and I think, like, as in you can't move over buildings.
Yeah.
As if they weren't there. So that means you're kind of going up and over, I guess, for ruins and stuff. But that's fine, I think, given that people were playing buildings to basically get 0-inch charges.
Yeah. And I think that's something I've been wanting to try and sort out. And I think this is probably a fairly good fix.
Yep.
Well, like, to be perfectly honest, I'm actually with you on this one. Is it doesn't really matter to me whether you can, move over things in the assault phase or not do it. Possibly it made it a bit more tactical.
Yeah.
With the use of screens and things like that. It's just whether you feel that the game should include things like screens.
Yeah, pretty much, and kind of what you're doing to counter, assault marines or harlequins or whatever, and at one level, harlequins and wraiths and stuff should be able to move kind of where they want and do what they want.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that, when everybody is saying that, Warhammer 40,000 is a shooting game, right? It's a shooting gallery. It's what it's all about. Making it harder to assault things or making it harder to control how you assault things when, as much as it is a shooting gallery game, there are definitely armies that are assault armies, right? There are builds that are assault builds. And if you want people to be able to play those and want to play those armies, well, yeah, maybe it wasn't a great move to basically say, hey, you just have to, deal with all this chaff in front.
Yeah, match the screen and then you can fight the things you want to fight.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I think as much as I think screening's kind of, almost a core mechanic in 8th edition, and personally, I don't have a problem with it. Whether you want it to be a core mechanic for every army, like, there are very few armies that don't have some sort of legitimate screen. Like I would say that, Grey Knights don't have a screen.
I mean, Imperial Guard, right? The Grey Knights.
Oh no! I'm sort of
I know you mean mono builds, but
but that's actually a good point. How easy it is to just grab something from another codex to screen with.
What, 180 points for the Lucky 32?
Yeah,
and then that's your chaff wall, and you can make it a bit punchy with orders.
Yeah, so I think they're probably going in the right direction. Like, I've always liked the punchy Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah,
like close range firefights with super brutal assault, like almost like one of those things where the shooting should be so brutal that the assault, when and if it ever happens, should be twice as brutal as the shooting is.
Yep.
If that kind of makes sense, it's kind of like the reward for being able to, be the assault unit or whatever it is that gets through
Is
should
wiping
be that it
the
basically
gunline.
scares the shit out of your gun line, right?
Yeah.
And once upon a time, that was third and fourth edition Gene Stealers and Death Company with jump packs
Yep.
that would basically cut loose through somebody's entire fucking army. Now, okay, maybe that's not super fun, but neither's playing an assault army and just being like, so mad, I'm going to have to cut my way through the 32 guardsmen
Yep.
and then the mortar squads, and then it's like, maybe there's something else there for me to kill, but there's probably not enough turns in the game to do it. And
Yep.
I think there was a lot of that happening. Well, you didn't see certain army builds competitively,
Yes.
like they just didn't exist because what's the point in bringing some of that stuff? So no,
Yeah.
sure. It's pretty good.
Yep.
So what I'm just seeing if there's anything in the forward by Robin Crottis that's sort of worth jumping into. Basically, it just says they've had a ton of feedback from all their different feedback avenues, and they
Yeah.
believe that it's all come together into a fairly good FAQ. So this is one thing that I think a lot of people still don't believe too much, especially if you are outside of the UK and the USA, and that is that your feedback actually gets to Games Workshop. And
Yep.
obviously, they've just had the big community survey. Might even still be up. I'm not too sure. But the feedback does kind of make it. The other thing that we do know from some sources is that there are a lot of people at Games Workshop that actually sit and troll through what once would have been forums but are now Facebook groups and pages.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
obviously, they run their own, but they are in other ones. And they do take feedback on board, generally silently, because can you imagine what would happen if somebody found out who you were and what you were there for? But yeah,
Yes.
so it is one of those things. They do take on feedback. It may not be exactly what you want, but I feel like they're doing a fairly good job compared to maybe the Games Workshop 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Good.
the way I say it, Doug, is if we're going to call them on the bad stuff, which we do, when we think they're fucked up, we'll say
Yep.
they're fucked up. I think you have to kind of like salute them for trying to do the right thing and then doing the right thing. That's the other thing is that they definitely went through a period where you could tell they were trying to do something different, and some things just weren't working. Whereas now, I think like the FAQ system. Okay, the difference between March and April, as I said, realistically, they should just scrap the whole March thing and say, look, it's going to be 3 weeks post Adepticon, depending on when Adepticon turns up.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the same thing with. I mean, this is one of those things that often gets talked about, particularly with stuff like video games, right? You either release a shitty thing on launch, or you're a couple of months and that hangs around forever, or you're a couple of months late on release and you've got a good product going forward.
Yeah.
So just kind of, at one level, like you said, just say, right, Adepticon is kind of the marker for this. So whenever that is, give us a month and then we'll have some updated rules for you.
Yep, 100%. And I think that, as much as there's probably people screaming at their iPhones right now and their podcast buddy apps about how the game shouldn't be run by Adepticon, which is just one tournament in America that I've never been to, and all this sort of shit. Whether we like it or not, I think the way 40K is being treated as a game and the sort of trajectory it's on as a hobby, as a game, especially as a competitive game, is one where they really can't not pay attention to that sort of thing. They put their hand up in 8th edition and they said, look, we're going to have different ways to play this thing. Competitive is in there, like match play competitive is there. And now they're actually sticking to it. And I just don't think that you can argue against that. I think that Adepticon, is probably the pinnacle for 40K.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, if you're playing narrative games in your garage, who gives a fuck what the FAQ says at the end of the day? Most of it's related to matched play, or kind of is a rule that you can just ignore, or a house rule to suit the way you're playing anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
If you're playing open, literally nothing matters, so just go nuts. But if you are wanting to play with a little bit of structure, what you'll often find is that even if you never go to a tournament, or even if you're never at Adepticon or the LVO at the other end of the year or whatever, those events will ring out the efficiencies and the clear kind of I guess winners from the points costs and the rules as they stand, which gives you a chance to look at kind of at base level, what is allowing those units to overperform, and is that something that we want to change, and how do we change that?
Yeah, and look, I think the other big thing is that, you know, and I've said it a million times, is gamers have this weird relationship with Games Workshop where they hate Games Workshop and everything they do, yet they won't move a fucking muscle unless Games Workshop puts it in a rule book and says that it's effective.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't things, but I think this is the best way to do it. So yeah, actually one of the coolest things I've seen in this is actually the first thing here for cool rules changes and clarifications, and that's on wobbly model syndrome. Because this is like, I've seen this abused to the shit house by different people. I have seen, you know, hundreds of Facebook posts with people trying to clarify what the fuck they mean by wobbly model syndrome.
Yep.
Now, if you don't know what wobbly model syndrome is, it accounts as location for a model. The original intent for it, and wobbly model syndrome's been around since like 3rd edition or 4th edition, I think.
Yeah.
The idea was, if you're ever worried about your model falling over and getting damaged, trying to place it somewhere on the battlefield. So that means if you're using a Realm of Battle board from Games Workshop, that is anywhere on the battlefield.
Yeah, literally anywhere.
That isn't a giant pool of super glue. You basically just put something in place of the model there, or you put it to one side and say, well, actually, no, my demon prince with the wings is up here. But if I try and put him there, he's going to flip that entire building over, and you're going to get angry with me because I've just broken all your models.
Yeah.
And what they're saying here is that basically the litmus test for it is, if somebody bumps the table, would it knock your model over? And if that's the case, then no, put it somewhere else, but say it's there.
Yep.
What it is not used for, and what I've seen so many people try and argue that it is putting things where you physically could not place the model at all.
Yes.
So I think one of the ones I've seen recently is trying to put like a very large model, like, you know, 60 mil bases onto like the point of a spire.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going, well, no, it's up there, but wobbly model, I can't put it there. No, you'd have to be able to place it there. However, the risk would also have to be high that if somebody bumped a table, it might fall off it fairly easily.
Yes.
But you actually do need to be able to put it there. So you can't just decide that it's, you know, oh, well, I'm going to put it anywhere I want, even if it can't sit there for a few seconds on its own, sort of thing.
So does that mean then, Andrew, that if I can balance a 60 mil base on the tip of that spire?
Yes, yes, you're completely okay with that if you can balance it there, apparently.
Excellent. There's going to be some hand-eye coordination training, I'm sure, on the tournament scene.
Maybe some counterweighted bases, right? Like,
yeah, that's right. It's got to stand on its own for a count of 3 or something.
No, I thought that was actually quite a good clarification from them.
Yeah.
So that's something just to keep in mind, is that you do need to attempt to put the model there, and it needs to be able to physically go there, and then just be sort of worried about it. I feel that wobbly models actually came out of an age when metal miniatures were quite normal.
Yeah, and that's right.
Owns, especially anybody that is a banner bearer or an icon bearer in white metal, those pricks on a 25 mil base were never going to stand up anywhere.
No.
That's the sort of stuff they're talking about, is they just didn't want models getting damaged.
Yeah, and I guess it was also helpful for stuff like the old hills that you used to get that models couldn't actually stand on the side of, but that were kind of meant to be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the metal models would always slide down the hill.
Yeah, that's
so
exactly it.
Yeah, so that's like it's reasonably common sense, right? Like, whereas once upon a time we might have just taken our metal model and laid them down on the hill and said they're roughly there. Wobbly model is just a way to codify that.
I feel like the use of the word common sense is probably a bit dangerous, considering
Yeah,
we're going through a 40k FAQ.
yeah.
But no, I know. Yeah, that's exactly what
But
it's
yeah,
about. Yeah.
well, the next one seems to fly in the face of all common sense anyway, right? The edge of the battlefield.
Yeah. So this was actually, this one made me sit up and go, I'd never thought about that. Just because like it had never occurred to me to try and do something like this. But basically, what they've said is that the edge of the board is the edge of the board, and you can't go off it for any reason.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's not even it's not even like the base can't be off the table. It's the model can't be off the table.
No part of the model or its base can be set up or moved over the edge of the battlefield. Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got a Valkyrie, you can't actually put the base hard up against the table edge because the wing will be over the edge.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not that it will ever, not that it'll often come in to play, but
no, and it's probably not some sort of trick that anybody is trying to use. But
yeah. But it might come into play with some of the bigger, like the Orion or the Thunderhawk or something. If you, depending on the base, you've got that on.
Yeah, Thunderhawk bases and that sort of stuff. Yeah, you're not going to get that. You're probably going to have to sit all of them within what, 8 inches. Probably
Yeah,
the
that's right.
wingspan of the base.
Bombers, right? They're a foot across or something. So, yeah.
So that's the case one. The next one after that, which is something that I have always had a problem with.
Can't charge out of a busted transport?
Yeah, and that is disembarking from destroyed transports. And it's actually funny that they sort of detailed exactly what they had seen happen. So it's kind of like they've showed they're working. And this is what it is that some players have been exploiting this oversight and declaring charges against every possible unit in order to get their own transports destroyed. So then they can disembark their elite and very choppy units an extra few inches and secure a vital charge. So basically what they're saying now is units cannot declare a charge during the same turn which they disembarked from a destroyed transport.
Yep.
Perfect. Loving that change. I know like 10 minutes ago I was, saying how assault armies should be buffed and all this sort of stuff, but there was something not right about you actually wanting the Rhino to blow up on its way into the enemy lines, and then your guys to be hurled forward in the giant explosion, ready to punch people. Yeah, that's cool. Right. That's good.
Happy with that. I have no objections.
I feel like maybe orcs with this one. Definitely World Eaters, because it's about the only place you see rhinos anymore is with berserkers.
Yeah, berserkers in rhinos, but this was the only reason you were seeing that, right?
I think so. I'm just.
Also it gets them off the table a bit, but
yeah. Elder transports, maybe. No, I can't think of anything that Elder would charge out, because you can't put shining spears in transports. Yeah.
That's right. Dark Reapers aren't going to charge, so
no,
that's basically the entire Elder Codex out. So
Storm Guardians, 8-man Storm Guardians quests. But no, for me, I just immediately went, it's like World Eaters and maybe orcs if anybody's running like trucks.
Gene Stealers maybe. Bunch of acolytes out of a Goliath.
Goliath or something like that. Yeah, possibly. Actually, yeah, that could be true, because they're not particularly solid vehicles, are they?
No, but then again, if you're using vehicles in a Gene Stealer cult list, I think you're doing it wrong. But
yeah,
that's just me. And I've always been a big fan of Cult Ambush. So
vehicles that aren't Lehman Russes, right? And Shadow Swords.
No, why would you take a Lehman Russ? Brood Brothers are a much cheaper way to fill that brigade slot. You just take mortar teams. And then you take whatever the hell you want, like a Shadow Sword.
All right, so the next core rule change that we get to is what we were talking about originally, which is that units that can fly in the charge phase. So back in 2018, they included an errata which basically clipped people's wings. You could fly in the movement phase. You couldn't fly in the charge phase, however. You couldn't move over intervening models, tall terrain features, buildings, those sort of things.
Yeah, during the charge phase,
yeah. In the charge phase, which is what we're talking about, where you could block up people with screens, make them,
Yep.
crash their jet bike and push it towards a conscript screen or something like that. However, they've now removed that on there. So there are some terrain features that will stop you from doing it, which is fair enough, I think. Although they are saying here that buildings of bastions, fortresses of redemptions, and other models with a fortification battlefield role. So I'm wondering whether that means that